Jake, I guess it was job done in terms of getting the win and the log points to top the log. But perhaps the defense, are you a bit worried about that going to the semis?
Look, Ashfaq, I mean, the bottom line is I said we needed to get a home semi and a home final. We needed to win. Like you say, we've done that now. So we've got our own destiny in our own hands now. Defensively, yeah, I think, look, I just don't think it's only the defense thing. I think it's the ability to adapt. And I was just thinking, when I was looking at that game unfold, I mean, Arnu is probably, 9 years older than some players in the pack. He's the only guys over 25 years old in that whole pack, 24 years old in that pack, and then he gets sent off for 10 minutes. So if you're realistic, I mean, obviously you've got all these youngsters on the field, the captain's gone off. And then you're not getting things the way you want to get things. It is a bit of a development stage. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a red light. I don't think we need to worry about it. But at the same time, we're going to have to fix it because it's not only about the next 2 weeks. It's about going to Europe. And, if we don't understand that teams will be good enough to exploit those weaknesses, well, then, then we're going to get results like we got tonight. So, yeah, I mean, in a roundabout way, that's part of what the benefit of understanding. The Free State skills are unbelievable, Ashfaq. I mean, if you think about their catch pass and their ability to hold on to the ball was outstanding, And just saying now, I mean, Ruan Pienaar, 88 tests, won a Junior World Cup, won a Senior World Cup, won an Under 21 World Cup, and a 19 World Cup. Yeah, he's definitely hell of important for them, and he played really well tonight.
Taking into account the experience you just mentioned, can we expect a quite different team for the semi-finals and finals?
Carl, it's exactly that. That's what I keep saying to myself, and I keep saying to the coaches, and don't ever underestimate the value of experience, and that's part of, and I'm not, again, making excuses because that's what we have, but the average age of Currie Cup teams is very young. And when you look at our team, Mornay and Gerard, young props, Johan Hendrik, young hooker, 2 locks who just come out of under 21s, Ulrich out of under 21, Yaku on the bench, under 21 last year, V.A. Steen came out of 21 last year. I mean, I'm not saying it in a nasty way to those boys because they try their hardest, but if I give you names like MP's du Toit, Henning van Asvier, Sean Povey, De Villiers, Visser, Skalk Burger, Tian Stoffberg, Rob Lowe, Mornay du Plessis, that was the kind of guys who played Currie Cup in those years, And if you look at the Free State sides, the same thing, like massive men who were older guys. So I'm trying really hard, Carl, to get that back. I think that's what's missing not only in the Bulls, but I think generally we need to up the experience and the age of our players. But the one nice thing about it is when you can develop some of these youngsters and they can grow with some of the older guys, then things bode well for you going forward in terms of creating a little bit of a sustainable squad going forward.
Jake, just looking towards the semis and the possible final, the experience of winning the Currie Cup last year with basically the same squad, how much will that be a positive for the Bulls in the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, well, Kubus, I'd like to believe that's going to count in our favour. I mean, the fact that we've been there and done it, but I mean, you also understand in sport that sometimes when you haven't won it, you obviously, like we hadn't won it for 10 years, we probably had a burning desire to actually, to win it. So, challenge for me and the coaches, and I suppose, and the leadership group is to make sure that the next 2 weeks we are, we're still alive and we can control our destiny. And as you say, that we gain from the experiences we had of actually playing in those games last year, because that would be the most positive thing for us to look back on. I just said to the players now, Kubus, whatever happened in the pool stages is irrelevant. We're a little bit down. I mean, we let them back in the game there. The game was almost gone. But you know what? It didn't matter. It didn't matter. What matters is that you win the next 2 weeks. I mean, that's what you get judged on, is how good you are when you get to the semis and the finals. So, we got to be happy. We got 2 home games. We got to be happy that we control our own destiny, and we got to be happy that the experience we've had of a couple of guys who've won a Currie Cup will obviously help the group that hasn't.
Okay, any more questions?
Jake, and also I guess you scored 39 points in 5 tries, and came back from 21-14 down, so that also shows some character from quite a young side.
Exactly that, Ashfaq. I mean, that's why I said, let's be fair. I mean, it's I obviously, it sort of feels like not you've lost, but you feel like, it's a little bit deflated because you've sort of let them in on tries that. But let's not forget, we played the last 10 minutes with 14 men, and then they exposed us on the outside without a back out wide, which is, I suppose, firstly, well done on them, and secondly, that's what rugby's all about. If they're good enough to expose that there's no winger, then they're good enough to score those tries. So, I mean, you think about it, we had 2 yellow cards. It meant for 60 minutes we played with 14 men, and you're not going to be able to do that if you want to win finals and semi-finals. But, I'm very happy that after being 21-14 down and the way we adapted and the halftime talk, and not just the talk, but the understanding of what needed to be done was obviously, pleasing for me.
Like just looking forward to this week, apart from the defense, what will be other work-ons for the Bulls?
Kobus, I think the most important thing is just to mentally prepare. I mean, you're going to coach the next 2 weeks. There's nothing you're going to coach in the next 2 weeks that we haven't done before. So I think probably recovery. It's been a jam-packed Currie Cup in terms of the amount of turnarounds in certain games. I think maybe just boost the players in terms of the fact that we're playing at home at Loftus. I know there are no crowds here, but still, it's sleep in our own beds. We don't have to travel. It's a massive advantage, and I suppose that's all I'll be working on is just enjoying the fact that we can have our home comforts.
Jake, does it matter who you're going to play in the semi-finals? I know Province and the Sharks are playing now. You could play any of 3 teams next week.
No, look, I mean, I think we've got to be good enough to beat anybody that comes to Loftus. I mean, if we start planning about we'd prefer this team and that team, then the competition doesn't, I suppose, have the credence that it deserves. So we got to, we go semi-final, final week off Leinster in Dublin. I don't think we need to worry too much about who we play at home here. I mean, there's a lot of bigger games coming up, and as I said to the boys, if we're not good enough to win at home against any of the other teams who are coming here, well, then we don't deserve to be champions.
Jake, you talk about, or they ask you about the opponents now, but what do you feel about the fact that we've got 2 of the smaller unions possibly in the semi-finals for the first time in many years? It's probably very healthy for the Currie Cup that's always labelled as a watered-down competition.
Yeah, I mean, Morgan, I think it's fantastic for rugby. I think the fact that we can have 7 competitive teams, I was saying 6 others other than, is fantastic, and it'll be wonderful for those players. I mean, it's a great prestigious thing to play in a Currie Cup final or semi-final. And they've worked hard. I think there is obviously there's one secret there between those 2 squads. They spend a lot of time together pre-season wise. They didn't play in any of those other tournaments. So again, it just reaffirms, Morgan, what I've always believed in rugby. If you've got a squad, they settle, they train together, they have lots of time to get cohesive. They're probably a little bit older. I suppose age-wise, their squads are a little bit older in age. So their sort of recruiting model is to get a couple of guys who probably missed out as 24, 25, 26-year-olds and get them into those squads, which again, something I said earlier just now, is that's part of the challenge, is to try and keep those kind of players in South Africa. And but I suppose what I am saying to you, it's fantastic for rugby. It's fantastic that we've got that kind of depth. And it's good for them. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen because obviously Province are playing for their lives today as well. But I mean, it'd be wonderful if those 2 teams, get through and experience what it's like to play in knockout stages of rugby.
Jake, I know you touched briefly on it and the importance of the Currie Cup and how you feel about that. And I know you're not an administrator, so obviously this happens above where you work. But what are the aspects, or what things would you think could be changed in the Currie Cup, or can make this Currie Cup a better competition and elevate it to a higher level?
Yeah, no, look, I think I don't know the answer to what needs to be done, but what I will say is that we must try as South Africans to do everything in our power to make sure that the Currie Cup stays a prestige competition in our country. And I think it would be sad for us to to ever water it down or never take it as seriously as it should be taken. I mean, again, I'm much older than most of the other coaches or players, so, you know, as I said to you, I can rattle off those names of the province side and the Transvaal side, and, you know, and I remember watching 87 finals of Naaspoorte kicking drop goals over at Ellis Park, and I remember the quality of players that played in the Currie Cup, and it meant massive amounts to those players, and I would think it'd be very sad if all those memories those ex-players have had about winning the Currie Cup and playing in finals, you know, obviously get diminished by the fact that it's not a serious competition. So, as I said, I'm not really sure about the answers, Jan, of what we should do. I think what I am very serious about is that I think we've got to find a way in a rugby-playing nation like South Africa to make sure that the Currie Cup never, ever becomes a watered-down, diminished competition, because it's been and it will always be very important to lots and lots of people who've been involved in it.
Okay, final question, please.
As a follow-up, Jake, and that becomes a bigger problem or challenge, let's call it a challenge, once you go to Europe, because you're going to have another competition running concurrently with the Currie Cup.
Well, I mean, that's exactly it. As I said, Jan, I don't know what the answer is. I'm not sure how it's going to be managed. I do also think it's very difficult because it's been trying times for all the administrators as well. You can imagine with COVID and no rugby and trying to fit in a Northern Hemisphere competition. I mean, I read an article the other day when they brought out the fixtures, saying the complexity and the detail they had to go into to get everyone, you know, properly scheduled in certain weeks, and you can imagine Six Nations and all those games and end of year tours involved. I'm sure it's going to be tough for them. But yeah, I just want to reinforce that as an old school guy who's been involved in rugby for a long, long time. And I know the importance of the Currie Cup. It would be sad if we don't find a way. You know, I don't know how we're going to do it. I mean, we're going to have to keep lots and lots of players in South Africa and get them to at least experience what it's like to play in a Currie Cup.